really just hot off the press is SSI getting a $1 billion investment, right? So I think that said, Reuters or whatever, it said it was probably valued at about $5 billion. For audience who doesn't know, this was the company started by Ilya, who used to be, I believe, the chief scientist, something to that effect, of OpenAI. So one of the original founders. This is a very
seen as very much one
thing.
of the big brains behind the AI revolution, right? Like he's been involved since the early AlexNet days, and has been involved in a bunch of significant steps in the transformer architecture sort of revolution, and then in the LLM revolution. So when he left OpenAI, that was a big deal. And as Dylan was saying, this is his next step is to found a company whose only product will be safe superintelligence.
I mean, that's what they've declared, right? And I mean, question to you two: do you know anything else they've actually announced? I think there's something to discuss here. Of that is a lot of money in terms of when you think of any kind of startup making $1 billion to say, here's our idea, and we have no actual product. However, we could also make the claim that $1 billion to make superintelligence is also a very small amount of money, actually, especially when we talk about some of the other hot news things. But what are your thoughts? Are you bullish on SSI? I know it's kind of like a heartthrob on Twitter and stuff like that, but I guess lots of differing opinions here.
I don't think... Well, first of all, it seems like the single product long-term vision is like the gimmick, potentially one of the gimmicks of the company. Mm-hmm. And it's also seems to be a shot at OpenAI. Like one of the big complaints of OpenAI, it seems like, is that they're focusing too much on product and too much on attracting users and not enough on safety. And so if you believe that, then you see Ilya's announcement of our only focus and our only product is safe superintelligence, and we're not going to do anything in the meantime to make money. Then you probably like that. But I think Dylan's question of is 1 billion going to get us superintelligence? Like I don't think if you asked any of the investors if they thought this first round was going to get them superintelligence, right? Like this 1 billion is for some potentially cool demo, more likely interesting paper that justifies another round that's larger.
I'm with that. That's where my head's at. Is I'm like, look, we're in the frontier model space. You're talking hundreds of billions now, right? Like that's the rumors. It's 100 billion plus, that sort of stuff. So $1 billion to me seems like we can't actually believe that's going to get us to, unless they have some freakishly novel architecture that no one's heard of and no one has any hint about. I agree, it seems like a proof of concept notion, or it seems like an initial round. I think it's an uphill fight. I mean, you're so late to this fight to be starting a brand new frontier model. There were rumors before they put this out that it was more of, we're going to figure out how to do alignment and safety, and so then you're sort of a tool for the other frontier models to use. But that was not the framing I got from this funding announcement. The framing I got was, we're going for superintelligence, nothing else matters, and it's going to be safe superintelligence. That's the differentiator. Which, awesome if you can do it, but God, that doesn't seem like enough money to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's the classic thing of the iron triangle here, and going after intelligence and going after safety seem to be two opposing factors. Again, as you said, unless there's some crazy novel architecture that has been cooking up in Ilya's head. But it doesn't seem that simple, right? And I feel like that was OpenAI's kind of play. They were like, we're doing safety, and then suddenly they're like, we need to chase intelligence, we'll bake safety in later. And there's a whole host of issues of why that's caused a lot of strife. I'm glad that SSI exists and that it's actually going after safety, right? Like responsible AI, super important, and something we do at Microsoft. So that is great. However, it just seems very high and mighty, like we're going to make safe superintelligence with this little amount of money. And how many people have they got now? Like 10 folks at SSI.
10, I think,
maybe they really do have something cooked up that'll be pretty incredible, but it's interesting to see that there's still quite a lot of potentially hype. So I don't know, as you say, it's very expensive paper, $1 billion to get another round.
Right.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, might be the greatest fundraiser of all time, right? I mean, maybe Elon takes the cake on that, but I mean, you're on $1 billion without pre-product is next level, so kudos. But I tend to align. I don't see how you I also don't get the logistics of it, right? If this does end in an arms race, if you're talking about a few winners at a global level, and you're talking money getting thrown around at like nation state levels and governments getting involved, you see OpenAI has an NSA member on the board. They've agreed to government supervision of models. That's all hinting at scale being tremendous and funding being outrageous and needing to find new power sources to fund the. I mean, you're talking just incredible Manhattan Project style rollout, and then, hey, I got $1 billion. Maybe I'm just a cynic. I don't know. But I don't see how that gets you to play in the board or play on that field, and I don't know what the incentive would be in an arms race to pause.
Yep.
I think that's something that's come up in the AI community before, but it seems even more relevant nowadays.
100%. Couldn't agree more. And that's kind of been playing out with OpenAI, right? Like, it's been a very kind of obvious shift of, you look back a year or two, lots of open papers, lots of discussion about safety, and now it's like, literally being nationalized, lots of like, closed source, but, we can certainly speculate more on that later, but interesting times.
Yeah, exciting, kind of wait and see. I'm excited to see the first notions they put out. I don't know, because if they're going for superintelligence or bust, do they put out products along the way, or are we just going to get papers? I don't know. I'm
right.
Just curious. It's piqued our interest. I wish I had something more clever to say than that's a huge fundraising round in any world except for frontier models, in which case then it doesn't look like enough.
Right.
Yeah. Too true. Great summary. Speaking of fundraising rounds, or rather lots of money being spent actually, Sam A and OpenAI, they're talking about investing, how much was it, like 10 billion?
Was it tens of billions?
Tens of billions. So maybe that's a useful, kind of model. Now we're talking about like, orders of magnitude more than like SSI. Right. Like these are the actual like, fundraising rounds being thrown around. So I'm trying to pull up the information.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that there was discussion here about it wasn't just Apple and Nvidia. I think like Microsoft was also on that list. There, it was like seems like a big round. Yeah, I mean, obviously $100 billion, big round. But yeah, just to see that, like, this isn't that normal of a thing to see like a bunch of traditionally competitors, all investing in the same company.
Right.
This is one of those pieces of evidence that the AI revolution is a uniquely centralized one.
Right. I think I've heard it compared to more of the cloud revolution, right? So you sort of see the same kind of thing playing out, where ultimately the winners of cloud were us, Google, and Amazon, of course. And that was because they could afford to build the biggest servers in the world and have enough space for everybody. Seems closer to that. I'm very curious if AI is going to enable like a second tier. So like in the data world, I think we've gone down that rabbit hole before, but you saw a lot of startups sort of act as middlemen. So it's like, oh, I need a redundancy on Azure and Google Cloud and AWS. And so someone runs that in between for you, or someone runs monitoring of these things for you. Maybe we'll see that here. Like maybe that's the startup opportunity if the frontier models are just priced out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays.